One UN estimate put it that each year about 13 million tons of plastic is dumped into the oceans. And it is estimated that by the year 2050, we'll have more plastic than fish in our oceans. And so that kind of statistic is not sustainable at all for our environment. And so we have to do something. And that is why on World Environment Day, it is a People's Day where we have to do something about protecting and conserving our local environment.
CFBC are observing World Environment Day that's coming on this year, that's coming on the 5th of June, under the UN theme of beating plastic pollution. On pollution of the environment, we cover broadly three areas or three types of pollution. One is land-based, air-based, and water-based pollution. In all of those areas, plastic pollution is a problem, where plastic pollution can overwhelm our landfill and other areas where they accumulate as point sources. We also have where much of the plastic, once we have heavy rainfall, will make their way into the sea. And when the plastic is burnt, we get air pollution coming from plastic.
Give us an environmental studies assessment of what you see here.
Okay, over here you see some plastic waste that has washed up from the ocean. This can be hazardous, as if it's located on the beach, it shows that there's a lot more in the ocean because, as I said, it is washed up.
Mangrove swamp is home to like many types of animals, and they come back to their habitats and they see all this plastic, all these foreign objects that they've never seen before. They might eat it, that could potentially choke them, killing them off, and that lowers like species diversity, you know, the amount of animals that actually live in the mangrove area.
We're on Keys Beach, and if you just step onto Keys Beach, so you walk, you hit grass, as soon as you hit the sand line, you're going to see tons of bits of plastic.
And so it ends up into the waterways, and we know, of course, that the sea brings it back on land. And then you have to think about the organisms eating it. And then it's stored in their fatty tissues and it bioaccumulates. And then over a period of time, then you could have biomagnification as it moves up the food chain. It could be eating other organisms that these chemicals have been stored in their fatty tissues, and then we could get sick. So you have different illnesses that could come about from it, especially different cancers. Plastic is highly toxic for the human body, and so then we have to deal with that as an issue.
We're here at Greenleaf Hydroponics Farm, and we're talking about plastic and plastic pollution in the environment and how dangerous it is to our ecosystem and our plants and nutrient cycling. Things like centipedes and your insects in general, they are the ones that actually break down the once living matter, return it to the ecosystem in a nutrient cycling format, which we call it.
Good afternoon, and I welcome you to Working for You. Thank you very much for joining us for today's program. I am Lesroy Williams. Of course, we continue to bring you information with what is happening in St. Kitts and NAVIS with respect to various departments and institutions of the ministries of the government. Today I am joined by officials from the Clarence Fitzroy Bryant College, which is our premier tertiary education institution in St. Kitts and Nevis. I do have with me, starting at my immediate right, Miss Nigencia James, Marketing and Communications Specialist. Miss James, welcome.
Thank you for having us.
I also have Dean of the Technical and Vocational Education and Management Studies, what we call TVEMS, Mr. Andrew Abraham. Welcome, Mr. Abraham.
Thank you very much for having us.
And I have with me, for the very first time on this program, Nigencia has been on this program before, Mr. Abraham. I have the esteemed honor to have the president of the Clarence Fitzroy Bryant College, Dr. Jacqueline Austin. Dr. Austin, welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Williams, for having us here this afternoon.
Right. Now, the classroom, as we know it, has always been a place of contagion. Not in the sense of disease, but in the sense that learning is infectious, contagious, and takes place within a classroom setting with teachers and students, and students and students. It is not contagion with respect to the transmission of a disease, but direct or indirect contact, by direct or indirect contact, but rather the rapid communication of an influence, such as a doctrine or a particular exchange of ideas, opinions, knowledge, and experience. Today, we are faced with a contagion of a different nature. A disease-producing agent known to the entire world as COVID-19. It has spread rapidly and influenced the world in ways not known in 10 decades. Schools have been forced to close, from early childhood centers, colleges, to universities. We have had to reimagine, re-strategize, and rethink education as we know it with respect to the physical classroom, so as not to spread this contagion of COVID-19. It has brought with it several challenges and opportunities. My first question. The Clarence Fitzroy Bryant College is the premier tertiary education institution in St. Kitts and Nevis. How has the institution reimagined, rethinked, re-strategized education since the COVID-19 pandemic? And what are your plans going forward?
Thank you very much, Mr. Williams, again for having the Clarence Fitzroy Bryant College here to share with the community what has been happening. And your question is indeed a very poignant one, in the sense that yes, we have had to re-engineer and reimagine and rethink a lot of what we do in the academy, in higher education. And essentially at the Clarence Fitzroy Bryant College, we have had to move from face-to-face delivery of our education to a virtual environment. Virtual environment not only for our faculty, but for our students, where teaching and learning occurs in that space, in that virtual space. And for some people, that would have been quite unfamiliar territory. Teachers would have been teaching, as you said, for many years, whiteboards, blackboards, etc. And we have to move to modalities such as Zoom and Google Classroom and Moodle, etc. And this is unfamiliar territory for both students and faculty. And for us, we have been working assiduously to ensure that we are able to deliver the best teaching and learning in this new environment by this new modality. So there's lots of training happening, of course, for our faculty. And our students have been working along with the faculty in order to complete assignments, projects, etc. And I'm sure that the Dean will share with you. But it would be remiss of me, Mr. Williams, not to extend best wishes on United Nations World Youth Skills Day. And that's why we are here. We want to share more about technical vocational education and training, what is happening within TVEMS. So the Dean will also share what is happening in terms of our transition. And yes, indeed, unprecedented times, but at the same time, great opportunity for us to reinvent ourselves, offer new courses, be more flexible with blended learning. So there's so many opportunities available to us in the Federation.
Now, thank you, Dr. Austin. The challenges, of course, you mentioned the way that you have to re-engineer education, rethink it, and so on in this new environment of COVID-19. However, there are many challenges of online learning. And one of them we have seen, of course, the inequities in terms of what is happening in various homes. Some people do not have internet, others don't have computers, and so on. So how do we address those inequities in terms of who can access and who can't access? Mr. Abraham.
Thank you very much again, Mr. Williams, for having me back. I'm happy to be here. And again, recognizing and observing today, July 15th, which is World Skills Day. And the theme is basically skills for a resilient youth. And we are in the business of training persons in the skill areas. And again, I am happy to be here to share, because this is also the time in which our high school graduates and persons who are thinking about upgrading their skills to access training, and the Clarence Fitzroy Bryan College Technical Division of Vocational Education and Management Studies is there and is being prepared to accept our students in this new time of training, learning, and so on. You know, the experience we've had from March in moving in an instant, I would say, from face-to-face to a virtual space have, taught us a lot. And we now have a lot of experience as it relates to being able to reach our students wherever they are within the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Now, yes, we're not playing on a level playing field, but what we recognize is that there are some gaps and some areas in which we can improve. One of the things we have done at the college in preparation for the new academic year is to look at how we can actually welcome our new students in the new academic year 2020, 2021, to ensure that we provide or deliver the training that we are known to be able to deliver, but more importantly, to continue to improve and to develop what we do. So basically, students who would be accessing the Clarence Fitzroy Bryan College in the new academic year would have certain requirements in terms of technology that they would have to obtain in order to, to be able to be trained. Now, the specs of the computers and other electronic device that would be important as part of the education going forward. For example, computers must have a webcam. The operating system software, it must be compatible, because our training at the technical division, to be specific, there are some software applications that students would need. So the system that they would be using would have to meet that requirements. So we already begun putting that kind of structure in place. More importantly, I would like to share with you is the training that our faculty would be receiving as it relates to preparing them to provide that kind of training in the new academic year. So we've already timetabled a time in the summer break where our faculty would all be trained in one online platform to be able to deliver that kind of training. And also students, or returning students and our new students, would also be trained to be able to maneuver, manipulate software, hardware, so at least they themselves could understand how to now interface, interact, and to be able to get that training that we are so eager and anxious to be able to deliver. But before I even conclude on answering that question, I would also like to say it also presents an opportunity for us. So some of our students who are out there who are planning on returning to either complete their program or second-year students, now being in that virtual space, now what that will do for them is they would be able to either be at home and be able to access their training. For persons who are employed, now those persons would have access to courses or programs at the college to continue to upgrade their skills. So COVID, in a sense, brings us opportunities, which the college is currently, I would say, preparing and is exploiting in a minimal way at this point to be able to reach our prospective students, our current students, again, and continuing to develop the Clarence Fitzroy Bryan College.
Right. You know, Mr. Abraham, once ago, the division of TVEMs was seen as one for students who are not so bright, in inverted commas. Has this opinion changed? What has been done to change this opinion? And what is the future for technical and vocational education in St. Kitts and Nevis?
Thank you very much again for this question. And again, I would like to take this opportunity to give a shout out to our faculty and staff who are on the summer break. I am encouraging all of them to enjoy the time that they're off and to rejuvenate and be prepared to come into the new academic year all eager and ready to go, knowing that we would be operating in a blended format, in some courses face-to-face and some online, with the training and so on that we have prepared for them. Now, we have seen that shift, as you would have asked, in terms of persons accessing technical education. And that stigma that we all are familiar with is that persons who access vocational education and training are the ones who are not so smart. Now, at the technical division, what we would have done over the years is to be able to sell, but more importantly, I would say, again, let me back up here for a minute. Our students or graduates are the ones, in my view, who would have done an excellent job in marketing what we do at the college in terms of training. They are the ones who would have accessed the programs and succeeded. They are the ones who are now matriculated into colleges and universities around the world. And we live in a small community, and word gets out. Students who access our program at the technical division gets more credits when they apply to universities and college regionally and internationally, and they complete their degree programs faster than persons who would have accessed other programs at the college. When you look at our own local environment here and the employment situation, when you go into most of our local banks, our local businesses, or hotel, tourism and hospitality, the persons who you are experiencing when you go there, the service that they are our graduates. And they are the ones who are actually getting the jobs that are good paying jobs. And again, they are the ones who are sharing that kind of information with their friends, their peers, their neighbors, and so on. So like I said, that in itself would have assisted us in changing that view that a technical education is for those who are less in terms of the aptitude. We again at the college would have done some facelifting, retooling our shops. We have reviewed our programs, and we continue to review our programs and look at our programs to ensure that it meets industry standards, and we are operating in such a way that our students, we don't only want our students to be village champions. We want them to be able to go out and compete within the region and internationally, and we have done that. We have an exchange program with Nova Scotia Community College where students go out there for a year and be able to train and sit in the same classroom of students at that college in Canada. Now, we have the National TVET Scholar, which is the two top performing students in the technical division who are given a full scholarship to go. And so that's an incentive again for persons who are looking to apply and matriculate into the programs at the Clarence Fitzroy Bryan College. To be specific, the Division of Technical Vocational Education and Management Studies. They have a wealth of opportunities, or a lot of opportunities there. And again, we are the talk of the town. You have seen our students in the robotics competition, or IT students. I mean, they are articulate, they are confident, and that is what is out there in the community, and people are seeing that. I mean, the service you go to when you get into our local banks, most of the tellers, I am proud to say today that they are graduates. Again, they are the ones being employed. So again, in part and parcel, there are just more than one reason why I would say, without any doubt, that stigma of the students who would access a technical education are students who are less than maybe one who would have gone to the arts or science. Again, the number of credits that is being transferred when students apply to regional and international institutions, that's an incentive. And again, for prospective students out there who are thinking about applying to the Clarence Fitzroy-Bryan College in the new academic year, we are saying that we have programs at the technical division for you. We're not in the business of training you to become doctors, not nurses, but once you are interested in one of the skill areas, electronics, IT, agriculture, office administration, hospitality, and culinary studies, we are ready and prepared to welcome you in the new academic year.
Right. Mr. Abraham, just this other question. Most of the TVM programs are hands-on programs. What approach will the college take to ensure that students are able to take these programs amidst the pandemic?
Thank you very much again, Mr. Williams. And you know, I'm loving these questions. And for those of you who are home looking at the program today, parents, students, prospective students, again, I would like to say thank you to the TVET Secretariat, which is actually partnering with the International Labour Organization to facilitate a training as it relates to developing instructional materials online. And that is part and parcel of building capacity for administrators and lecturers alike to be able to move to that space, but move to that space operating with standards. Again, we at the division understand that we have to look at the various opportunities that are available and the regulations and requirements in terms of the institution providing training in this new environment of COVID-19. So what we are doing right now is, again, seeking out opportunities for training for lecturers to build the capacity to be able to deliver training in an online format, that is solely online, and in a blended format, that is students who are doing hands-on training, they will be able to come into the college in smaller groups and be able to participate in that training with their lecturers and technicians in complying with the regulation for COVID-19, excuse me, and then do the theoretical component of it online. So we call that blended. So part of the training would be online in a remote location, and we have the face-to-face with smaller numbers. But there are some courses, of course, we'd have to have strictly face-to-face. That is, the courses where we know that the students have to be there, so we're looking at size and a sort of a shift system where those students would be in at the college, be able to get that hands-on training in a safe manner, and again, the college continues to move forward and upward and be able to deliver that training that we have developed that reputation to be able to deliver.
So you will ensure that the COVID-19 protocols are adhered to in that environment.
Thank you very much. Very much so. And again, as Dr. Aston mentioned earlier, we have already begun that process in terms of having our hand sanitizer. You must wear face masks. Once you enter the college, you have to take your temperature and so on. And screens have been placed, in certain offices and so on to protect our employees and also our students. So we have already begun that process and is in preparation mode, I would say, to welcome our students in the new academic year.
Dr. Austin, can you share further in terms of what is being done to prepare students to return to the CFBC? In terms of what is happening in the whole global environment, local environment of the pandemic?
Yes, I believe there's a lot of fear around the COVID-19 pandemic, and rightly so. It's a very serious disease, and we ought to take it seriously because we see the impact, the adverse impact on populations across the world. In the United States alone, in excess of 137,000 have died. 136,000 souls have passed as a result of this pandemic, and we at the CFBC are very much cognizant of its impact as well. And we have established a COVID-19 task force. We have, of course, been in consultation with the National Emergency Operations Center, headed by Mr. Samuel, also with the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Laws. We have had meetings. We have also had compliance inspections by an entity from the Ministry of Education. We are also scheduled to have another inspection by the compliance team from the NEOC. And we see this as vitally and crucially important. Why? As alluded to earlier by the Dean, Mr. Abraham, we want to ensure that the safety of our faculty, students, and staff remains paramount. It's paramount. We cannot continue to do what we do and do it well without the protocols being followed. We have already implemented some of these protocols, including social distancing, what we call physical distancing. We have the temperature checks, logs, in the event that we need to perform contact tracing in consultation with the Ministry of Health. Of course, we are guided. We have also ensured that we have the markers in our classrooms for the 6 feet distancing. We have actually developed our CFBC COVID-19 policy. I am pleased to say that that will be presented tomorrow to our Board of Governors for ratification. And we are pleased that the team has worked so well together. It was a team effort. That team is headed by Dr. Rondalyn Bradshaw, the Dean of our Division of Health Sciences. And we have had numerous meetings. I know Ms. James is here, our marketing and communication specialist, because communication is also key. We need to communicate with our constituents, with our stakeholders, as to what we are doing to safeguard their health and well-being. And we will continue to do that here in the Federation and at CFBC.
No, Dr. Austin, can you share a bit in terms of the vision, the mission, the goals of the CFBC? I know that we are preparing young people to take up key positions and roles in the society. But what programs are being offered that cater to a modern St. Kitts and Nevis in terms of its economic, its human, and sustainable development?
I think that's a loaded question, Mr. Williams. I know we will take all day to discuss what we are doing in terms of the transformation of teaching and learning and education in the Federation as we know it. But I'm glad you posed that question, because many persons might not know that St. Kitts and Nevis was one of the first countries in the Commonwealth to institute or introduce free education. And that's significant. That's something to applaud and to rave about. We need to know our history in order to project into our future. And you asked me a question that is quite futuristic. What is the vision? What is the mission? What are the plans for CFBC? And our vision is to empower students. When we say empower, we're not just speaking about academic learning as we know it or knowledge as we know it. We are speaking about the holistic development of students, so that when they leave the institution of learning, higher education, that they can make a meaningful contribution to the socio-economic development of their countries, the region, note carefully I'm adding here, the region and the world. It is not about operating in a small space. The world has changed and transformed as we know it. We're talking about big data. We are talking about cybersecurity. We're talking about these things that are driving the economies of the developed nations, as we call them, because I believe that we are developing, yes, but we say those are the developed nations. But suffice to say that we at CFBC are concerned with the empowerment, the holistic development of students, first and foremost. So when our graduates go out, not just into the labor market, but into the society, there are people who are concerned about sustainable development. There are persons who are playing a key role in community development and transforming the lives of people in their communities through community service. So it's why we're here. We're not just speaking about attaining skills and qualifications and certification. I think we will miss the mark if we think that's all it's about. It's more about that whole person and how they can make a meaningful difference in the world. We are faced with some unprecedented challenges you alluded to earlier. We are faced and confronted with COVID-19. How do we respond? The jobs that we knew in the past will not exist in the future. So we must equip and empower our people and reposition them for the challenges ahead. And that's what we are going to be focusing on at CFBC, the true transformation of teaching and learning.
I know that, at CFBC, there has been focus on the hospitality and the tourism sector. And basically, what we are now seeing is how fragile an industry that is. It has always been a fragile industry, but COVID-19 has really brought out just how fragile it is. Hotels are closed. Restaurants and bars were closed in some places. In some places, they are now open. Cruise ships are no longer coming to our ports, and so on. So for those persons who are preparing for that sector, the tourism and hospitality sector, it raises some questions.
It certainly does raise a lot of questions. Many young people out there, we're focusing on the youth today. UN World Youth Skills Day. This is our focus. And many young people, we talk about young people who are not in education, not in employment, also known as NEET. And they're unemployed essentially. And many young people may have the question, my daughter is a recent graduate in hospitality as well. And the big question around the future is, what will I do? I don't understand what's happening. The world as I knew it has now changed. What am I to do? And this whole idea around a job, I want us to think about our resilience, because that's the theme for Youth Skills Day. The resilience and the opportunity presented to young people across the Federation for entrepreneurship. We don't have to necessarily seek a job. Come up with a new product, a new idea, a new service that can be delivered online. I like the fact that when the COVID-19 first presented, there were those persons who said, let me go there and make some masks. Let me make some face shields. What is needed in the medical sector that I can produce and earn an income? We ought to be thinking less about jobs as we knew them in a traditional sense, and more about innovation and ideas, and taking what is indigenous to our countries and making them work for us. Today we're here working for you, they need to work for us.
And there are some people in the Federation too who started making hand sanitizers. Sure, Mr. Abraham.
Yes. Again, and just pretty much going along with where Dr. Austin was responding to you as it relates, we are into an environment of the competition of ideas, and our graduates should be in that marketplace, so to speak, for competing ideas. How do I respond to what is happening in and around my environment and be able to make a meaningful contribution? Now, what we are saying at the technical division in the program that we are offering, for example, in the hospitality and culinary program, although hotels and restaurants were closed, in some cases they were allowing delivery. So you can't dine, but we can cook for you and we can deliver it to your home. But we're training students in the area of culinary. So we still need chefs. We still need sous chefs. We have runners. What we are saying is our graduate would be so versatile that they understand that within that kind of environment, I can reinvent myself and still be able to make a meaningful contribution. So the competition of ideas and our leaders again, and not the person who is at the top of the ticket or who is in the head of the organization, leaders at every level to be able to contribute in a meaningful way. But the programs, again, we are offering, especially at the technical division, I believe strongly that those programs would prepare persons to make that transition, in my view, in a shorter period of time than maybe traditionally, because our program covers quite a wide area in terms of developing skill sets and competencies of that individual, all right, to be able to participate in our economy and be able to contribute. Even though that hotels are physically closed, then how do we actually observe first of all and seize that opportunity and say, yes, I can contribute. And it also can reap the rewards in terms of a lucrative business where we can generate an income.
Nigeria, Dr. Austin spoke about holistic education, holistic development of the person. Now, which includes, of course, not just academics, but would include, of course, extracurricular involvement and so on. I think it was Theodore Roosevelt, a past American president, who said that to educate a man in mind or a woman in mind and not in morals is to educate a menace to the society. And so therefore we need more than just academics. What type of student services, extracurricular involvement do you have at the CFBC? Taking it, of course, I know some of the extracurricular involvement, has to do with the agglomeration of people. Now, social distancing protocols may have to come into play, and so on.
Thank you. I could recall growing up, a lot of times lecturers and teachers would say, you need to be well-rounded. Well, here at CFBC, that's exactly what we want our students to be. So we offer not only intellectual development, but social development as well. And we do that through clubs and organizations. So at CFBC, we have over 13 clubs and organizations available for students to join. And these range from SGA, which is the Student Government Association. We have the Business Society, Dynamic Innovators, and that's our IT club. We have Toastmasters, and that's for persons who really want to develop public speaking skills or just build leadership skills. And many others. But in terms of being able to gather through social distancing protocols, a lot of times we throw out buzzwords like resilience, innovation. And I think this is the time where we really need to be resilient and innovative. So for example, the Toastmasters Club, we can't meet in person, so we've been meeting via Zoom. And we conduct meetings the same way, we interact the same way, we just don't see each other face to face. So even though we may not be able to have large gatherings, there are still ways for us to come together, interact, mix and mingle, and develop socially as well. Now, in terms of other student services that help the development of our students at CFBC, we offer academic advising, counseling, and that's just not career development and academic advising. We offer counseling for personal and social development as well. We have volunteer activities, so many times organizations are looking for students to help them volunteer on a particular day, and through student services we're able to send out the information and sign students up for these activities. Then we have community engagement, scholarships, and we have scholarships such as the Ross Scholarship for our students, and all of these are part of the student services that CFBC is pleased and happy to be able to offer our students. Now, we participate in challenge and fulfillment forums, and these forums are hosted or held or planned by the counselor, Dr. James, at CFBC, and they cover a range of topics. And the last one we had was about anxiety and depression, and this is usually a taboo subject. Many persons don't want to talk about it, but it's a reality. And at college, sometimes you get stressed. You don't make the grades that you expected that you would. You feel down, depressed, you feel like a failure. And it's important that we offer services that are able to assist students and help them overcome these. And let them know this is not a full stop in your story, it's just a comma.
Okay. Thank you, Nigensi. I know that from my time as a lecturer at the college, there has been talk about the college being an accredited institution. Has the college begun that process? Dr. Austin.
We are pleased, Mr. Williams, to report that we have indeed begun that process. Since I assumed tenure with the CFBC, we have been indeed working on our accreditation, and we have been in consultation with the St. Kitts and Nevis Accreditation Board. We are now going through the process of registration. They have responded to us and indicated that we need to submit some additional information in terms of data, some reports, etc. But we are well on our way. But I must add here that this process is not a short-term process. It is more of a long-term process in the sense that you are assessed, and the institution will be assessed and evaluated. So there must be consistent and continuous improvement and quality enhancement according to best practices and standards in higher education. So when we reach the point of registration, the work is not yet done. We have to move to the next phase, which will be the accreditation process. That often involves visits, assessment visits by assessors, etc., to evaluate various aspects of our operations, our teaching and learning. They will be evaluating our curricula, also looking at student services. Do we have the support systems in place? Do we have what is required for us to say that we are indeed operating at an international or according to global educational standards? So I'm pleased that we have commenced that process.
Good. Now, Mr. Abraham, I know that once ago you can be a mechanic and you don't really have any sort of papers to show that you're a qualified mechanic. What is being done at the college in terms of people having that qualification that they can present? For example, if they have to leave St. Kitts and go somewhere else, that they just can't come and say, well, I'm a mechanic.
Thank you very much for that question again, and that's why the technical division is there, is basically to provide that support to the community. As it is right now at the college, we have that CARICOM clause that says once you at the age of 25 and over, you can access any of our programs in the areas that you're interested, years of working experience, and so on, and you can enter into one of our programs. Now, the auto mechanic program is available right now at the associate degree level. You're 25 and over, and you have 2-3 years experience, or you've been practicing for 15-20 years, and you want to become certified. Like I said, there is a pathway for you to get into the programs right now. Now, I would just speak a little bit as it relates to the CARICOM skill certificate. Once you have a certificate from CFBC, you can obtain a CARICOM skill certificate through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. You would actually meet the requirement to get one of that skill certificate. I know CVQ, the Caribbean Vocational Qualification, is the qualification that has been advertised for persons with skills and so on. But we do offer Associate of Applied Science degree at the college that also qualifies an individual. So a mechanic who wants to become certified and to take their skills regionally, they can access one of our current programs and do so. Now, I would also want to add a little bit here, because the automotive industry is also evolving in terms of its computerization, electric vehicles. It is expected within the next 5 to 7 years there will be 18 million electric vehicles on the roads in the United States alone. We do not have a manufacturing company here in St. Kitts that makes vehicles. So we depend on countries such as the US and Japan and European countries such as Germany for our vehicles. Every major automaker in the world is actually producing an electric vehicle as we speak. So what we are saying is that we have programs at the college that would prepare students to make that shift because we will, and we already have vehicles that are totally electric in St. Kitts and Nevis, which means, and I was joking with one of our lecturers the other day that says, now a mechanic would just be walking around town with a probe and a multimeter to be able to diagnose the vehicle. He's right, because basically a vehicle, a totally electric vehicle is running on motors, and it's just electricity that powers it. So for persons who are looking to retool, for persons who want to become certified, or as they say locally, I want that piece of paper in my hand. That piece of paper can take you literally around the world. But what we have at the college right now is programs where we can accommodate persons in the industry at a certain age with that CARICOM class. But we are forever looking at our programs and reviewing to see how better we can position ourselves to be able to provide that support to our community. So for those persons who are out there, we are thinking about you, and we are preparing ourselves in the short term, that is, to be able to provide that support to you, to be able to take the opportunities that would present itself within our local space and within the region.
Mr. Abraham, as you mentioned earlier, today is World Youth Skills Day. And it's a day that has been set aside really by the United Nations to underscore the importance that young people play in society to being employed and contributing towards the holistic development of societies. Now, what role do you think that technical and vocational education and training play in terms of obtaining that objective in terms of youth skills?
We have a very critical role to play in terms of skills development and supporting various institutions or industries within our local business community and even regionally. When we look at some of the critical areas or critical service areas, hospitals in this time of COVID-19, when we're talking about the constant supply of electricity, air conditioning, IT, we're talking about the skills that we provide, the training that we provide to our graduates, supporting these industries to be able to deliver critical services. So this is how I would put it. We are the ones right now that are actually rolling out leaders in these various areas to be able to provide that kind of support that is critical to our society in providing the services that would keep us moving on and upwards. Again, so we have that critical role to play in terms of providing that kind of support, but at the same time, empowering those young ones and even persons who are retooling. Because we do have students that are in their 20s and even older. So we are saying that all of our students, we are providing that training that would give them the confidence, the certification to be able to not only access the jobs that are available, but the training that they get to allow them to innovate, become their own entrepreneurs, to be able to go out there and participate in our business community by setting up their own businesses and providing critical services. Again, and lessening the demand on our governments and the limited job opportunities that it can provide, but more importantly, providing employment for additional persons within that sector. Again, and building some of the emerging sectors, renewable energy. We see what happens we see what is happening at the central bank. I mean, look at the amount of solar panels that is outfitted there to be able to power that bank. Look at RLB International Airport. They also have their fair share of solar technology powering the airport. Again, our graduates in our electrical and electronics program would be able to seize on that opportunity for employment, partnership, but at the same time, to lead on the next technology that is, for example, batteries. They are now developing batteries that can store power for over a 24-hour period. So once the sun goes down, the battery is charged. So which means you continue using that green energy for a longer period of time. So again, our trainees would become the leaders who are supporting industry, but more importantly, who are developing businesses. And for all those persons who are thinking about a career or prospective students, at the technical division, we do have programs, electrical and electronics, automotive, that have cutting-edge technology, IT, innovation, how we can actually contribute to our own community, but more importantly, provide that critical service that we need here and now.
You know, a lot of our young people are very talented. They have a lot of talent, but yet a number of them are not employed, a number of them are not in a sense of education and training. Neat, not employed, not in education, not in training. And we have to cater to these young people. It's all right that those who may have the academic qualifications to enter into the college. What about those who do not? But yet somehow they still have that potential and they have that knack for doing something. How are we reaching out to them? What are we doing to reach out to them? Because in some ways they can be marginalized. It's not that they are not talented. It's not that they don't have skills, but they may just not have the subjects to enter into the college. What really is for them?
Okay, in terms of, I will take this question, Mr. Williams, because it speaks to access. Are we providing the access necessary? I like the fact that you said young people are very talented. But how do we harness that talent for the socio-economic development of the Federation? How do we go about doing that? And it's an access question. How do we give them the access? We are not turning students back because you asked the dean earlier, this pervasive perception that somehow when you are in TVET, you don't need to use your head, you only use your hands. And that is quite erroneous. You must use both your head and hands in any profession. So we do not turn away students. There are opportunities at CFBC, and perhaps we are one of the best kept secrets within the Federation. But I'm glad you afforded us this opportunity today to share with the citizens and the population across St. Kitts and Nevis, because we have a division called Adult and Continuing Education, another access point. That access point, if you don't have CXCs or what we call CSEC subjects, you can enter the college on a part-time basis because some persons want to work and study, and that's an option. But if you don't contact us, visit our website, call us, ask some questions, this information would remain secret. So we want persons to know they can call us, they can visit our website, they can speak to us about what they're thinking, what they want to do, even persons with disabilities.
Right. I suppose that is where the role of Nigencia comes in,
yes,
in terms of marketing and communications. So how have you been marketing and communicating the programs and so on out there?
Yes.
So there's a lot we're working on behind the scenes, but so far, we've really been pushing social media, putting out our press releases via the different media hosts around, and of course, we've been on your program to speak about ACE, the access point that Dr. Austin would have been referring to. But while I'm marketing and communicating here, I'd like to remind everyone that the application period for CFBC ends July 31st. So if you want to be able to access CFBC, whether through TVEMS or through the Adult and Continuing Education or any one of our other divisions, July 31st is the deadline. Don't miss it.
Okay. Sure.
Mr. Williams, that we had a virtual open house, quite innovative. spearheaded by Miss James, and perhaps she might want to share. I know she's being modest, but she ought to share that we too are we have to deliver information differently and communicate what we have to offer to students and prospective students.
Yes. Dr. Austin is correct. We did host a virtual open house, the first for CFPC, and I must say it went pretty well. We did it over a period of 2 days. So on the first day, we would have introduced prospective students as well as their parents or guardians to the programs that we offer here at CFPC. The assistant registrar would have made a lovely presentation informing them about the entry requirements for the various divisions. And then on the second day, they were able to meet the deans. So they were able to interact a bit more with the deans of the division. And the idea for this came about because, as you mentioned earlier, we're not allowed to have large gatherings, but we still saw the need for persons to know that CFPC is here. Here's what we're doing. Like Dr. Austin said, for now, we're the best kept secret. We won't be a secret for much longer, but we want persons to know, yes, we're still here. Yes, we have things that you're interested in. We're here to help you develop and grow. And the virtual open house allowed us to do exactly that. I must say that the turnout was excellent. We're considering having another one, so look out for it.
Sure. One of the things that we have been also doing, and it is just before Ms. James came on board, is to reach out to the schools, but not just speaking with the students. We took a different approach. We went out and meet with the parents at the PTA meetings, because we understand that as much as we want to attract students to our programs at the college, the parents are the ones who finance the education. And parents are the ones sometimes who encourage and discourage students from various programs at the college, and I'm very conscious of that. So one of the approaches that we took this academic year is to meet with the parents and let them know exactly what we are offering in terms of our programs and how they can support their son or their daughter once they would have matriculated into one of our programs at the college. And I believe that was received well with some of these parents, because the questions and the feedback that we got from that, I'm expecting another bump. I know we have been growing for the last 4 years in terms of those student numbers. We are expecting a bump, again, from our own graduates doing a lot of the footwork for us, but at the same time, with parents now being on board. In the past, I received calls from parents who say, I understand my son or my daughter is in a program at the technical division. Is there any way you can sign the form to have them transferred to another division? And I said, you know what, I put I wouldn't say not my life on the line. I said, you know what, give me your trust. Let that student stay in that program. And at the end of it, if you are not satisfied, come back to me, let's have a conversation. I have not had one of those parents come back to me. As a matter of fact, we have our recent graduate who returned to St. Kitts last year, who studied in our IT program, and I know his father was adamant that he transferred to another division. His son is back in St. Kitts working at the Ross University as one of the IT technicians with a first degree in only a year and a half after he completed the program at TVEMS. So that's just one example of having to meet with these parents to change mindset. So again, it's part and parcel of what we did to actually change the view of technical education and training, to the point where I did a presentation at Bastia High School to parents. And one of the parents, came up to me and said, Dean, I'm so happy because my daughter is at Johnson & Wales and she got 66 credits transferred. She got 2 years off. You know how much money that saved me? And I said, I'm happy to learn that. You are going to speak after me. Could you please let your fellow parents know? So again, that is one of the strategies that we have been using to get the word out and to be able to get students and parents on board, because it's a team effort. And again, it's an investment. But more importantly, I want to let parents know that CFBC is a steal of a deal, although it's the best kept secret. We only charge $375 in fees, not tuition, fees to our students per semester. It cannot be compared to any institution that you would have to pay anywhere else in the region or internationally. Per credit for some courses in the US is as much as $500. Now we're talking about 375 EC here. Right. This is a steal of a deal. And for 2 years, 66 credits. Now, and if you're thinking about time, 15 weeks per semester, 30 weeks per year. So again, time, cost, it is what you should be thinking of, and we're encouraging you to go out there and apply at the technical division. We have 11 programs available for you at the associate degree. We have a timber program at the diploma level. We also have 2 certificate programs in hospitality and culinary studies. And we know after this COVID, the industry is going to bounce back, and you are going to be in demand. And I know you're already in demand because some of our local restaurants are seeking persons to assist again. So we are doing some things to encourage persons to access our programs.
Right. I was very happy to hear that the government has introduced a new ministry having to do with entertainment and talent development and entrepreneurship. And I think it's a good move because a lot of our young people are moving in that direction, having their own businesses where they're self-employed. You mentioned that earlier. And developing that talent that they have, whether it is singing or dancing or whatever talent they have, and entertainment. But the policy and the infrastructure needs to be put in place. I think that they have some programs at the ASGS. Do they have something there? Entrepreneurship course or something like that?
We do.
Yes. But a lot of young people, that is the direction that they are going. Is not to rule out the TVEMs, you know, in terms of electricity and the engineering.
Of course
and what's not, but it's to complement it.
Yes, and I am glad you're raising this as well, Mr. Williams, because that ministry headed by the Honorable Minister Akila Byron-Nisbet, I am very pleased that the cabinet saw it to important enough to establish such a ministry. Why? The creative industries, millions, dare I say billions of dollars. It's the entertainment is where it's at. And some of that entertainment could be virtual in terms of video games. We can have actual performances. So there's great opportunity and income earning potential within the creative industries. And we at CFBC, we are currently examining the reintroduction of the associate degree in performing arts.
We have not developed that, I think, enough here in St. Kitts and Nevis. It's not that we don't have the talent, but I think it has not been developed enough, or people have not been channeled in a particular direction so that they can develop their talents. I do know that in Jamaica, for example, they encourage a lot of that. You have the Edna Manley School of the Arts and so on, performing arts, and we probably need some college here or somewhere. People don't necessarily have to leave, but they can develop their talent right here in St. Kitts and Nevis through some college where they can learn and you know, better their natural gifts. Because some people have a lot of natural gifts. We would go to the phone lines. Some people want to call in and ask questions. The numbers to call are 466-2666. That's 466-2666. 662-8674. 662-8674. 767-4765. 767-4765, and the overseas number is 1-239-645-4500. 1-239-645-4500. We welcome your calls. Okay.
I'd like to add on to a success story that Abraham was mentioning, the Ross, the student that now works in the Ross IT department. But recently, a past CFBC culinary arts student actually won the Nevis Food and Mango Festival, Mr. Wentworth Smitten. So CFBC is doing big things, yes. I just wanted to plug that.
I do know that the CAPE associate degree structure has changed, where students now must complete 10 units instead of 8. How will this change impact the students who are attempting to pursue the CAPE associate degree? Dr. Austin.
Yes, indeed. We would have shared in a press conference with the former Minister of Education, the Honorable Sean Richards. We did have a press conference when the CSEC results were announced last year. And we did inform parents, students, that the requirements have been changed by the Caribbean Examinations Council. It does present a challenge to us in terms of the completion of all those units within a 2-year period. However, students may opt to pursue other associate degrees within the college. If that is their main focus, that they want to have an associate degree, they may also take less units and have a diploma. So it's flexible, it's adaptable, so the student will need to contact us, or their parents, or both, and meet with our admissions department or assistant registrar of admissions and have further conversation around what their studies would look like and what they're hoping to achieve. And we can examine that by a case-by-case basis, because as you rightly said, there have been changes at the level of the Caribbean Examinations Council.
Right. Yeah. Now, I do know that the University of the West Indies Cayville campus is an affiliate of CFBC, especially when it comes to education programs. I myself did the postgraduate diploma in education through the college, and that Cave Hill campus has approved the offerings of a master's in education. They also approved a bachelor's in education program, but here we have a master's degree in education, but there's not a bachelor's degree at the college in education. I know that there are a number of students in the teacher ed division who have associate degrees who can actually benefit from a bachelor's degree. Is there any move towards having a bachelor's degree in addition to the master's degree at the college?
As you rightly said, we have a range of program offerings at CFBC, ranging from certificates, diplomas, up to a master's degree. We are indeed in partnership. You're well researched, Mr. Williams, and it seems you're well aware of what we are doing. You're well aware of what we are doing there.
We have a caller, Dr. Austin, so we'll take the call and then we'll come back to you. Working
That's
for you,
fine.
good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Williams.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to the Dean and the President and the Principal.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, now there has been much discussion, and people are saying we need to have technical and vocational education. So there seems to be some gap between what you are saying and what the public knows, because the public seems to be unaware of what is going on. Now, what measures do you use to choose the courses you offer in technical and vocational education? Is it market demand, or you just offer general courses? Because there have been instances where students go into air conditioning and different things, and when they graduate, they cannot find employment. And that is one. Are you doing multiple skills? As I recall, some years ago, way back, the demand by the private sector was for people with multiple skills. So rather than graduating an electrician, they wanted an electrician, plumber, you know? So do you offer those options? Those are my questions.
Thank you very much for your questions.
Thank you very much, Father. We do offer most of the programs that maybe you would have been familiar with when you had the St. Kitts Nevis Anguilla Technical College. We do not offer plumbing at this time, and it's been quite a while since the college offered plumbing and general construction. What I can say as it relates to our graduates, especially in the area that you mentioned, refrigeration and air conditioning, one of the things I'm very proud about is to see our graduates leading businesses and providing support to businesses in the area of air conditioning and refrigeration throughout the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Most of these
we have another caller. Working for you, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I am calling just to ask if people are needed in the college to teach people in the culinary. I am living abroad. I'm stuck in COVID. I wish to come back, and I am a qualified chef, and I would love to teach and give people some knowledge.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for your contribution.
The last caller, what we encourage persons to do who are interested in employment at the college is to submit a CV, a resume, to our HR department, and you can do that. You could check our college website and send that information to CFBC admin, and it would definitely get to our HR department, and we'll certainly look at that application. And once there is a vacancy that we can fill, then that person would be considered once he or she meets the requirement.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Mr. Williams, I want to kind of circle back.
Certainly, yes, that's correct.
Because the caller did raise a very important point, and she asked a question about market demand, and she also referenced the fact that industry needs multiple skills. I think that's very insightful, and I want to thank her for her call, because we need to strengthen our partnership with business and industry. We all have a role to play in the development of our human resource. It's a collective effort. It is not just education or training in a silo. We need our industry partners to provide those internship opportunities, those practicums that will allow the students to have the first-hand experience in doing. So we're not just looking at the theory of it, but the practice. And I want to thank her for that, because we are indeed working with business and industry. We are going to strengthen that area to engage our stakeholders to provide more opportunities for the practical aspect, to gain the multiple skills that the caller did reference. Yes. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Now, before we were talking about the teacher education and the bachelor program, because I do know that after the 2 years at the college where you earn the associate degree, in order to have the bachelor's degree, you only need another 2 years. Is that correct?
Yes, we do, and I was responded before the calls came in about the partnerships that we have with regional and international universities, including UWI, of which I am also a graduate and alum. So yes, we do have these partnerships in place. What we are currently examining at the level of our academic council would be the feasibility of these offerings for the Federation, inclusive of the offering of the bachelor's, because that would be an introduction of a new program. So we have to examine it in its entirety. And you did also ask about the master's degree. It was offered last academic year, but of course we would have to look at the results, reevaluate amid the COVID-19 pandemic as to how we can move forward with those programs.
Right.
Or if we can at all.
Mm-hmm. Right. Now, you have 54 students presently completing their masters who should be graduating this year, but you're saying that you're not ready for another cohort, or that you have to reevaluate because of the COVID-19 and so on. Okay, good. Right.
And again, the first caller, I still believe that there's part of a question that was not completely answered. Again, and the demand for persons in air conditioning and refrigeration has been great. As a matter of fact, I would like to know that student or graduate of CFBC who is not employed in that field, because we constantly get requests for persons in there, and I don't think we have enough to supply. As a matter of fact, We've had we have graduates in some programs. I know I can speak specifically, for example, in electrical and electronics, where there's a local business entity that opened up and had one of our graduates sent to Taiwan to be trained. And that employer was so satisfied that he came back asking for more. Again, at the time, all of the students who went out on practicum were employed by the employer, so you were not able to get one. So for those persons who are out there and in those areas, I know that they're in demand. So I'm not saying that it is not possible that someone out there is not employed, but I'm saying that they have been good.
Good afternoon. Hello?
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I am not aware, I tuned in late, I'm not aware if anyone spoke about the students that are graduating from hospitality and what is the internship looking like, and if graduation has been pushed back. That's my question. I tuned in late.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd be happy if I could have some insight on that.
Okay, thank you for your question. Mr. Abraham, that falls under your portfolio.
As a result of, yes, again, thank you, caller, for your question. Students who would have completed the program of the CFBC at the end of semester 2 academic year 2019-2020 would be graduating. The college had to take a decision as it relates to the safety and well-being of our students being out in the industry once we had the outbreak of the pandemic and that shutdown of businesses and that stay-at-home requirement order. So our student did not get that industry experience as would traditionally be done in the final semester. It's a decision the college had to take, and at this point, like I said, those students would be taken care of in terms of alternate assessment for that particular course, because the internship is actually a course. So we have an alternate assessment that was replaced, or the instituted as a result of the student not being able to go out there physically. And again, the hospitality program was affected. Our office and administration and management studies program was also affected. And we have our students who actually was earmarked to go out in the summer as well. And we have instituted that alternate assessment for those students.
I know that, yes, Dr. Austin?
Yes, and I know the caller did say that there has been a change around our graduation. We have not yet made a final decision or determination. We will be entering into discussions as to whether we have a new look graduation. We have to be innovative and what that might look like. So we're still engaged in discussion around what the commencement ceremony would be. Okay.
Now, I know earlier we did mention, because of the COVID-19 and the online learning and so on, that is now becoming the new normal, so to speak. How are we going to deal with the challenges? How is CFBC going to deal with the challenges of online learning? And do you think that learning online is as effective as being physically present in the classroom?
I think this is an absolutely wonderful question, because it causes us to think outside the proverbial box. Education that we have in the way that we've always known it to be. There have been some resistance around the virtual environment and teaching and learning online. Because some persons say, well, I prefer face-to-face because I get to interact with my peers, I get to ask the teacher questions, but in that online environment, you have to engage in a different way. Both teaching and learning, because I have also been in courses, etc., and some people say, well, it's quite boring. I can't remain engaged. It's not interesting for me. So how are we going to grapple with this? And this is a big question in the academy now.
It is a big question.
Yes.
We have another caller, Dr. Austin.
Yes.
Working for you, good
Yes.
afternoon. Hello? Yes, good afternoon.
Afternoon, Mr. Williams.
Yes, good afternoon.
And also the listeners.
Yes.
Some time ago, I was traveling by bus on two occasions, and the complaint to the bus drivers was that those two persons could not listen to the contributions that the artists were making. Is being discussed about talent and the contribution in making money from the arts. My question is there any managerial oversight on these people who come on here with all kind of nonsense and feel like they are doing what is right? Is there any managerial side from the radio personnel on this matter? Or I will stay there.
For your call, would anyone like to?
I find it interesting because the caller is asking about talent, and it's about perception. What do we view as talent? How do we define talent? So maybe the generation gap comes into question here, because he said he was traveling on this bus and you know, persons heard this music, etc. And oftentimes in the Caribbean we ask, you know, how do we respond to some of the lyrics that are being expressed as part of our culture, as part of our heritage? Where do we draw the line? So I think maybe this is where the student, the caller is going. Yes, yes. How do we draw the line between that talent, the expression of the talent and the moral position or ethical positions?
Interesting one, to each his own, I suppose. But
yes,
Dr. Austin, we were talking about the traditional academic skills before, or the traditional way that learning took place in the classroom, and now we are forced online, and is it effective and so on? Because the pandemic has disrupted an education system that some people were already saying that it was losing its relevance. For example, how are we teaching critical thinking and adaptability, for example? Because this pandemic calls for adaptability. Does it really call for rote learning and traditional skills, or other skills as critical thinking and adaptability, which would help us to be successful in the future?
Yes, and we were speaking earlier about the holistic development of the students and what we want to see emerge in our students. We speak about the adaptability. We speak about creativity, innovation. But how are we going to be able to do that in an online environment? It forces us in higher education and in education in general to move from the point of our comfort zone, from where we have sat on our laurels, so to speak, to say, okay, we've got to do this differently. Yes, we have to engage with students via technology. We have to come up with the quizzes and the activities in that online environment that some students, they're digital natives, whereas, you know, we are sojourners, so to speak, and teachers as well. You know, we would have our notes that are turning yellow. You know, we kept them 10 years and we've been teaching this for 10 years and it doesn't change. In the online space, now you have to go and do research. You have to look for those videos to engage the student. You have to pose those poignant questions to our students. If we are saying that we want to build these capabilities, these competencies in our students to think innovatively and to be adaptable and to be problem solvers, we don't just arrive at that point. It demands us to build capacity, yes, through training and providing the tools. So we have been doing quite a lot of training in the area of the use of these online modalities and engaging students. And we have been in partnership with a professor, Fulbright scholar, who is due to come to the Federation in January of 2021. Professor, I don't recall her name now, but she's from the Auburn University, Leslie Cordy, who's due to come to the Federation to support the CFBC in this regard, developing courses using online modalities and how we engage students to ensure that teaching can happen, but is learning really taking place?
Yeah, because, I mean, can the technology, it's there, but it is how it is being used. For example, it can be rather distracting. People on Facebook or watching movies or things like that.
Yes.
Things that they actually can't really do while they're in the physical classroom, or they can't do as much.
Yes, many distractions as well. And you were saying earlier that there are some students who don't have access. They may not have a laptop. They may be using their smartphone to actually attend the class. But how do we harness the technology to work for us?
And in that case, may I just add a bit here as it relates to adapting to the technology and be able to read. Most of these online platforms also have apps that you can download on your smartphones. So which means the digital resource is also accessible via your smartphone. So the traditional format in which we develop our lessons, you introduce, you have your content, you have your activity, that can be transferred to that digital space. So as opposed to you being there, you could do a short video to introduce yourself, the topic, or what you're discussing today. And there are actual videos that you can source from YouTube and many of the other online platforms that are very educational. Again, that you can use simulation videos as opposed to having the actual simulation equipment. Then there are simulation software that can be part of that lesson, and activities where you have 3D imaging that can actually bring to life. And again, I'm speaking as it relates to a technical setting that can bring, so you could have a lathe, you could have a drill press, where the students would have a 3D image where that activity can be done there. So you would have that kind of training being done in that space. But again, it's all about building the capacity and for persons to adapt to that environment and be able to deliver the training. Yeah. It can be done.
Interesting for the students
and making it interesting.
Well.
Yeah. And again, we have examples from the March to May or June period where some lecturers reported that some students' performance improved than when they were doing. No, I'm serious. They were actually improved. And I was like, so there are some students who embrace and prefer that form of it.
Technology excites them.
Exactly.
And they are more engaged.
Very much so.
In learning because of the technology.
Yes.
Right. Now, is there anything that you would like to mention or say before we leave?
Well, of course, I'll take a first dib at it. Again, the new academic year is upon us, and we are in the process of welcoming our new cohort for academic year 2020-2021. The programs, again, that are available at the technical division: architectural design technology at the associate degree level. We have agricultural studies, which have 3 tracks: agricultural science, agriculture technology, and agriculture business. We also have electrical and electronics, and I know we have one of our graduates, or proud graduate, behind the scene there. I know I can call him Pinocchio, one of my students, that has, evolved and transformed in so many different ways again. And that's a good example of how you adapt to different work situations and be able to to stay relevant, that is. So we have electrical and electronics, IT, of course. We have our automotive program. We have our refrigeration and air conditioning program, timber vocation, hospitality and culinary service studies, office administration and management studies, our business program, where we have our largest group of students. Again, we have all of these programs available to you. Application is open at the college. We are asking you to apply, and we are looking forward to partnering with you to to be able to train you for that skill, or maybe to prepare you for the next step, which may be university or college. And if entrepreneurship is what you are focusing on, again, you have programs that would prepare you or help prepare you for the opportunities that is with us and those to come. So we are saying that CFBC TVEMS, or the Technical Vocational Education and Management Studies Division, is there, ready and prepared to welcome you for the new academic year. And for our returning students, again, we are there and we are planning and putting structures in place to welcome you back. And for those persons who are thinking about coming in and finishing that one class, I know there are many of you out there, that one class. We have online courses. If that course is being offered online, we're inviting you to reapply and get to take that one course and complete your program. We also offer training in blended format. So for those persons who are doing the skill areas, where hands-on, where we need you in the workshops, then you would have to spend less time. But of course, it's a shift that we are preparing ourselves to welcome you to the college. Again, I'm looking forward to see you come the end of August 2020.
And of course, I would want to express our sincerest gratitude to our faculty, our administration, our staff, and our students who have allowed us to transition from face-to-face to blended learning amid the COVID-19 pandemic. You know, without their support, without their sacrifice and commitment, we would not have been able to transition so seamlessly. And I am looking forward to the new academic year as well. I want to say that to those young persons out there, to the youth, do not allow this opportunity to pass you by. You are our best minds, you are our best talent, and we must ensure that you are engaged for the further development and sustainability of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. And we at CFBC invite you to visit our website at www.cfbc.edu.kn.
And a friendly reminder that our application period closes on July 31st, so we're just a few weeks away. Don't miss out on applying, and as Dr. Austin would have said, you visit our website, cfbc.edu.kn, and you can apply there. Thank you.
Right, so thank you to all three of you. I think it is very appropriate that you appear on the program today on World Youth Skills Day, 15th of July, where the focus is really on skills and how we can help young people to acquire those skills, to become educated, and so that they can be employed. There are so many young people in our society who are unemployed, who are unengaged. And that creates a problem for society. It creates all kind of a social problems for the society. So it is important that we continue to, the CFBC continues to educate our young people, and not so young people, of course. Because education basically should not be, it should be lifelong, yes. Not discriminatory based on age. And we were talking about the online learning and so on. Yes. And that is where maybe sometimes the younger ones might have to help the older ones who are not digital natives in terms of the learning. But I want to thank you, Dr. Austin,
you're welcome.
President of the Clarence Fitzroy Bryant College, Mr. Andrew Abraham, Dean of the Division of Technical and Vocational Education and Management Studies, TVEMS, and Nigencia James. I'm very proud of Nigencia. I taught Nigencia at the college, you know, and she was always a very good student.
Thank you.
Yes.
Marketing and Communications Specialist at the CFBC. Thank you to all three of you. We want to thank all of you who joined us today for today's program, all of you who listened and who called in, asked your questions, or just shared some suggestion. We thank you very much. Next week, we will be back with another Working for You program. Until then, I am Les Roy Williams. Take good care.